Alright guys, in this video I want to talk a little bit about nomadic lifestyle here in the Philippines or in Southeast Asia, or is it better to have like a home base or maybe just settle in one spot? Stick around. Alright guys, just leaving our restaurant and we are going through kind of like typhoon type weather, tropical storm, and I decided I will walk back in the rain here because I've been waiting for like a couple hours for the rain to stop. So I'm going to walk back to the condo. There's lakes behind me. Anyway, I said that I wouldn't do any more sitting down talking videos, but since I haven't been able to get out with all the rain the last few days, I'm going to go ahead and do one today. But to show you what it looks like when it rains here. I'm walking quickly. The one thing about the Philippines is there's not good drainage. Water does not drain, so there's like little lakes and puddles everywhere. That lake behind me. This is day number 3 of rain here in Cebu. It was raining much harder before. I don't want to get splashed by a car. Yeah, I've got a whole bunch of videos lined up that I want to do here, but with the rain has kind of stopped my plans. I was planning on a beach house. I was planning on some other types of videos, destinations, going out to local restaurants and pricing that, but the rain has stopped my plans, so I might just do a talking head video, the type of video I said I wasn't going to do anymore. But I always say I'm free to change my mind at any time. Get under cover here. I've arrived at the destination. All right, guys. So before I did this video, you could see that it was raining a lot. We got a typhoon in the area. This is like day 3 of being rainy here, yeah. And I know I said I wouldn't do any more talking heads video, but 3 days of rain has kind of canceled my plans of traveling to some places and showing you guys some places. So, Paul, thanks for coming back on. And
welcome. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So we were talking about earlier about different plans that we have. Like, for example, you know, like we, at this point in our life, we kind of like being nomadic. Like I like to be able to throw everything I have. Really, when I came over here from Dumaguete, I had my motorbike, I had the box in the back, the under seat storage, the saddlebags in my backpack, and that was everything
you owned and had.
That I owned and had on my motorbike, and I was driving around.
Yeah.
At a certain point, I wanted to get a place a little bit more long term so I could offload and travel easier. And I think that if the pandemic wasn't going on, then I probably would.
I've moved already.
I would have just kept moving around like I was doing even before the pandemic. But I really enjoy it because you can kind of be in one place. You don't have to have any kind of a time frame. You just there until you're like, okay, I've seen a lot of stuff here. Let me go off to the next place. I mean, is that kind of your lifestyle as well right now?
Well,
or
I think
the pandemic's messed it up, but
I think it's dual. Because when you go to a place, like for example, I was in Dumaguete for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And you think to yourself, okay, I'm going to stay here 6 months, a year, whatever, and then go. But then the problem was, not a problem, but what happens is you start making good friends, and then they become really good friends, right? And then you rent a place and you buy a TV, you have a nice sofa, and you start getting comfortable.
Yeah.
And then you think to yourself, oh, do I want to leave Negros and go to, example, Cebu and start over again? I got to make new friends, I got to buy new stuff. You know, and it's just, I think a lot of people fall into that category. They maybe plan to move, so I think if you're going to do it your way, I think people really have to plan for it and be really conscious that, okay, in X amount of months, I am going to move, and tell themselves that. Otherwise, you get really binded to that area you're in, I think. And that's kind of what happened to me in Dumaguete. I kind of got stuck in that place. I made some really good friends, and it was hard to move. It really was. You know, you lose some good friends, and even though you stay in contact, and right now it's hard to go see them, but if things were open, you could probably go see them. It's not the same. But I'm, right now in my life, I would like to be nomadic for at least another year or 2 years. And if I end up staying in the Philippines, that's what I would like to do. Because there's so much to see for me. And at some point, I'm going to settle down. And then once I settle down, I'm settled for the rest of my life, you know?
Right. Yeah, I feel the same way. And if you settle down now, you know, it's a waste of money, in my opinion, because I may go to, I don't know, Ilocos Norte in Luzon, and I may really like it and say, wow, I should have stayed here. Yeah. But I had already made my home in Cebu, and then you kind of get stuck. So I feel like a lot of guys, depending on what type of, some people like habit. I mean, we are kind of creatures of habit, you know. I like in Dumaguete, and even here now, it's like the grocery store. She knows me by name now.
Yeah.
At the
coffee people.
The coffee people, they know what I want.
Yeah.
You know, hey Gio, here's your caramel macchiato. You know.
And you're making friends here now.
You make friends. You get comfortable, and it's easy to be stuck in one location.
It really is.
It's also easy to start to acquire stuff again. I have to sometimes stop myself and say, wait a second. Yeah. I'm supposed to be practicing minimalism.
I remind you sometimes.
Yeah.
I thought you were a minimalist.
Yeah, I know.
I just ordered this and this. I'm like, what?
But, you know, I also have no problem leaving stuff, like all the stuff in my kitchen that I bought to make myself a little more comfortable.
It's not that expensive.
It's not that expensive.
You don't buy like the high quality stuff. You buy something that's lasts you a year or something, you know? And you know it, and it's fine, you know?
What else you can do is you can also move to another island, and you can simply hire a van or somebody to carry your stuff over, or just ship something. But I personally rather be able to pack everything onto my motorbike and go. Yeah.
What I've done is I rented a storage place, and that's cost me $300 a year, which is cheap, right? And it's a big storage place. It's here in Lapu-Lapu. And anything I acquire that I want to keep, I'm just going to put it in there. Because, I mean, it's big. It's got place for 2 motorbikes and a lot of boxes. I mean, a lot of boxes, and probably some furniture, too, if I acquired furniture. So I think that's also something to consider if like, you were talking about, well, if you stay in one place and you're renting and you get comfortable, you have all these things, you could actually just put it in storage if you decide to go live somewhere else for a while. So there are ways, but to me, I would say when you first come out here, and again, it also depends on your age, right?
Right.
If you're 65, 70, 75, you probably want to settle down somewhere, right?
Yeah.
But if you're in your 40s or 50s, you probably want to travel around.
Yeah.
And enjoy what the Philippines has to offer. There's so much different types of nature here, you know.
Yeah.
There are waterfalls, caves, underwater caves, corals. There's so much beauty here.
All the island hopping is fun, you know, the little Virgin Islands they call them, you know, with nobody living there.
Yeah.
And I guess the other thing is some people think, okay, maybe I should do a home base, but I think that only really works if you're planning on doing short little trips.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to do a month here or 2 months here, Costa, it just doesn't really pay.
But some people like the comfort creatures. They want to have a cappuccino machine. They want to have a 50-inch TV. They want to have a really nice sofa they can lay on. They want the best bed they can possibly have, you know, very expensive and all that. So some people like the comfort creatures, and, you know, all power to them, you know. I mean, it's really, it's, but me personally, I think you have to experience the Philippines in many different places, because we go to Dumaguete as an example. Negros has a lot of beautiful nature, but Cebu has also a lot of beautiful nature and different types, like Kawasan Falls, for example.
They do.
Camotes Islands has beautiful caves underwater, not underwater, but you go into the caves and there's water in the caves.
Yeah.
And there's just some astounding beauty here that is unbelievable.
Yeah.
You know?
It's really, you almost feels like you step back into prehistoric times with some of these waterfalls and stuff.
Sometimes it's like you feel like you're on a movie set. That's how I feel. It's like like I'm in a movie set.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, wow, is this real?
Yeah, exactly.
So, and especially now, I have to say, I mean, the viewers might get mad at this, but one of the advantages of the pandemic for us living here is that there's no tourists here. So like last time I went to Kawasan pre-pandemic, it was so full of people. I said, I'm never going back. This time there was like maybe a handful of people, you know. It's really nice to be able to go in nature without it being swamped with tourists.
Yeah, so for those of us living here, it's an advantage that we're taking advantage of right now.
We are.
And I mean, and personally, I think we both kind of feel that the Philippines will open pretty soon. We won't go down that avenue, that route right now.
But I still think you'll win the coffee.
Yep, and it'll be a big coffee at that. Another thing we talked about is even possibly getting a couple of, getting like a beach home and maybe a home in a condo and kind of split in time and maybe split with somebody, you know.
There's a lot of alternatives,
There are.
Now because, you know, you can get a beach home, like I was looking at Bohol. Now this is the pandemic, so you can get a lot cheaper, but I saw a nice beach home. It's only a studio, but no, it's a one bedroom. It was 10,000 pesos. Beautiful. I mean, it was a beautiful home. $200. And I was like, okay, you can afford that, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's lots of possibilities, but I personally think if I'm staying here the next couple of years, I'm going to be traveling all around, and probably Vietnam also, Indonesia maybe, and Malaysia maybe, and just all over the Philippines as well. Just travel, and get that out of my system.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think the number one thing that maybe a lot of guys maybe do come over here and they have the same plan, and I think a lot of them get sidetracked with maybe a Filipina that they met, and then and then all of a sudden she's from Cebu and maybe she's working, so she can't do that, so he ends up staying there, and boom, you know.
But
now
you don't. Okay, I don't want to get into this, but don't let a woman sidetrack your plans. There are plenty of women here.
Right. Well,
you know, and there are plenty of women who'd love to travel.
Right.
You know, if you tell them, well, I'm going to go to all these islands, I'm going to go all these places, they'll be like, I'm in. I'll go with you. You know.
Most of them don't have the opportunity. Actually, the majority of women here, if they're you'd be surprised at how many have never left their barangay.
Yeah.
haven't even been on a boat or been on a plane
Yep.
and don't even remember. It's kind of crazy to
Like
think
they
about
haven't,
that.
like girls in Cebu have never been to Malbol, never been to Kawasan Fall, never been to Camotes. You know, they're just like
Yeah.
probably within 20, 30 kilometers, 20, 30 miles of where they live. That's how far they've ventured.
Honestly, it's not that uncommon even in the United States. How
true.
many people don't even have a passport?
Yep, that's
I don't
also
remember
true.
the percentage. Somebody can comment down below, but
Yeah.
it's a pretty high percentage don't even have passports.
That's true. Yeah,
So,
it's probably a much higher percentage that don't have passports than do have passports.
right. Yeah, I think so.
But I think Americans, I think maybe after this pandemic, things change because, you know, Americans weren't used to staying at home. You know, they were used to working 50 weeks a year and working 40, 50, 60, 70 hours a week. And I think this pandemic has changed a lot of people. They've been home, they kind of like it, and then maybe they're starting to think, well, the Europeans, they get 4 or 5 weeks vacation the first year they start working. Why can't we get that? You know,
Yeah.
I want to travel. I want to go to the Philippines. I want to go to Vietnam. I want to go to Mexico and spend a couple of weeks. Maybe. Could always hope.
I was very lucky that by the end of my career with my job that I was getting 5.5 weeks paid vacation a year.
What?
But that was after I had just hit 12 years with the company, and it was after 10 years you bumped up to the highest I think level you could get.
See,
At the beginning you weren't getting that, but
Yeah.
that was at the 10-year mark. But here's the ironic thing is they wouldn't let you take more than 30 days in a row.
Yeah.
You had to get the human resources and the general manager and all kinds of people to sign off on it to let you take more than a month.
And
It's like,
the problem with that is, if it's not like once you go to a different company, you just keep your 5.5 weeks. You start at 2 weeks again.
you do.
You know?
Sometimes a week.
Yeah,
Yeah. But we digress.
yeah,
But I still see myself, as much as I love the condo, I think the condo is more suited for like a single guy.
oh yeah. Oh,
Like
yeah.
when I
It's too
settle,
small.
it's too small. And when I settle down, I want to be able to, if I want to add this or do this, I want to be able to make changes to it. It's kind of nice to
Yeah,
have something that you can do, you know.
you can get a nice house for about $600 here. Modern, nice, $600 to $800 a month. So if you can afford that, you can get a nice place.
Yeah, if you go to smaller provinces like Bohol and a lot of places, you can find homes for rent, $200-300 a month. It's insane.
Yeah.
But I think I would want to own a house, even though it's a gamble if you know.
Yeah, I don't.
But,
I have no interest in owning anything here.
Yeah, well, some people do.
Yeah.
But again, it's a gamble. You have to be willing to walk away from it, like so much. But
Because you don't really save any money putting your money in a house. I mean, people think, oh, I'm saving on the rent. But if you take in that same money, put it in the stock market, and let's say REITs,
yeah,
the money generated from that would be more than you would pay for a similar house in rent.
yeah,
Because rent here is so cheap. Like if you buy something here, let's say for 10 million pesos, the rent you're paying here would be like maybe 3%, 4% of what the house is worth. So it just doesn't make, from a financial point of view, it doesn't
Yeah.
make sense. From a safety point of view, it doesn't
Yeah.
make sense because you can lose the house, right?
true.
So the only way it makes sense is it's an emotional thing that you want the house to belong to you. You want to be able to do what you want with the house and so on.
Right,
So it's
right.
an emotional binding. It's not financial or security. It's just an emotional thing.
Do you see yourself way out in the province when you kind of settle down, or do you kind of want maybe somewhat close to the city? What's your ideal location, you think?
My ideal location would be something like Valencia,
Okay.
you know, where I'm about 15 minutes from town, but at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, it's country. You know, up in the mountains, it's cool. You don't really need to use aircon. It's quiet. There's not, you know, lots
Yeah.
of traffic. The air is fresh.
Yeah.
That's kind of my ideal situation for me.
Yeah, I'm somewhat similar. I also kind of like being near the beach, where I can go outside, have a cup of coffee, see the sunset and sunrise over the ocean.
Yeah,
it's
true.
beautiful. I know it's warmer, you know, you don't have the cool air, but you know.
But there is, like you said, you can rent a place, share it with 2-3 guys and say, okay, this week it's yours, next week it's mine, and so on.
True.
You know, each of you put in $100-200 and that's it. You know? There's ways around that.
True. Well, I think we'll end here. I just wanted to do, you know, see what your opinion was about nomadic and versus kind of settling down, or there's also kind of a semi-nomadic, you know, where you get a home base and travel, and
there's many ways of tackling it.
Different ways.
I think the secret is really sit down and think about it, and make a plan instead of like just, oh, what shall I do today? Oh, I'll go there, or whatever. Yeah.
I said I just don't think people should. I think 2 mistakes that I see. One, they watch some vlogger, right? Maybe us.
That's me.
And they go right to Dumaguete, or they go right to Cebu, and they settle down, and that's it, and they're done.
Yep.
And they haven't really explored. You know, maybe they'll travel. Maybe they'll travel after that a little bit, but they've already kind of set down. They've already settled down.
Yeah.
Or they let a girl dictate where they're going to move to. So they got online and chatted with the girl. She's from this little town in Bohol or something, and that's where they go and they settle down. They never explored. And I personally,
she meets them at the airport.
Meets them at the airport, scoops them up, puts them under a lock and key, and
lock and key.
But I think that you should go to the place or travel around, or explain to her at least, hey, I want to travel around. I can't say that I'll settle here in Bohol or here or there. And
if she wants to go, she goes. If not, find someone different.
In fact, and then you know you probably have a pretty good girl if she's willing to kind of.
So I've said this in other videos, and just to say it real quick, if I had to redo it again, when I was back home in the U.S., knowing I thought I'd be here for 8 months, but it turned out longer. But if I'd redo it again on those 8 months, I would have said, okay, I want to go to 4 or 5 different places. What are these places? Done a lot of research and decided which places and started there. Then after X amount of months, go there and so on. That's what I would have done if I had known what I know now. So that's what I would recommend for everybody. Learn from my experience. And just sit down and make a plan. Do a lot of research and find the places you like and just go do it. You know.
Well, I had started to do that, and then the pandemic happened. Boom. And here I am. But that's okay.
Life is good.
All right, guys, let me know what you think. What kind of lifestyle are you looking forward to when you come out to the Philippines? Are you going to settle down? Are you going to get a home base and travel a little bit? Or are you just going to be nomadic? Let me know what your thoughts and opinions are. See you guys next time.